Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever the fuck you're watching this. This is the Week 15 review, Week 16 preview episode of the Backyard Blitz, brought to you by Backyard Sports. Flying solo tonight, holiday time. I'm sure we'll get the boys back here soon, but let's jump right into it. Week 15, interesting weekend of football. We had some really crazy goings on. We had a full slate of games on Saturday, and 16 games. We're done with all the bye weeks. So look at Thursday night, though. Starting off with San Francisco, going up to Seattle with Brock Purdy at starting quarterback. His first official start in the NFL after the Jimmy Garoppolo injury. And it looked like it might be a tough opponent going up to Seattle. Division foe. Seattle's been playing pretty well this year. San Fran goes up there and gets the job done. That defense is nasty, keeping Seattle's offense off the board, really giving Geno fits, and they never really got anything going, especially on the ground. Kenneth Walker, who's been a bit of a wonderkin this year, really never got going on the ground, and that really hampered the Seattle offense. On the San Fran side of the ball, though, Brock looked pretty good, and I said first start, but first division start is really what I wanted to say, because he had started last week against the GOAT, got the win against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. But first division start for Brock Purdy. And he looked all right. A little bit made some plays, can move the ball with his feet, a little bit of a different element that maybe a Jimmy G brings to the table. Jimmy's athletic, but he just isn't a guy that moves the ball a lot with his feet. So something new that Brock brings to the table. I didn't think he looked super comfortable, and that'll be something to watch going forward with San Francisco, and however far they can go is how well they can make things work for Brock Purdy, how good Kyle can be calling plays for him, getting the ball down the field. Moving on, Saturday started off crazy with Indy and Minnesota. Minnesota gets down 33-0 at half, and you think, wow, what's going on here? They laid an egg coming down the stretch run of the season. They had a chance to clinch the division, and it looked like they were going to fumble the bag. But as bad teams do, Indianapolis found a way to let Minnesota back into the game, and Minnesota capitalized, kicked their way into the living room, essentially, into the Colts kitchen, tied it up, went to overtime, and they get a game-winning field goal from Greg Joseph. It's the largest comeback in NFL history. And I know a lot of people have been talking about greatest comeback. Let's not conflate, greatest with largest. It's the biggest margin ever overcome, topping the Buffalo Bills' 31-point comeback against Houston. That was a playoff game. And 28-3 in the Super Bowl. A little bit of a bigger deal. Hey, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Can you hear
How
me?
goes it?
Hey, it goes. How you doing, man?
Doing all right. I
Good to hear.
will be on in just a second. Need to finish getting ready.
All right, bud. Anyway, we'll have Raul here in a second. But to finish up talking about Minnesota and Indianapolis, that 33-0, largest comeback ever, but 28-3 in a Super Bowl is a little bit of a bigger deal. 31-0 in a playoff game is probably a little bit of a bigger deal. And the Colts are just a disaster. It wasn't good before they hired Jeff Saturday, and it's not getting any better. Things are a real mess there. They spent the whole offseason talking about Matt Ryan's going to be the answer. It was all Carson Wentz's fault, yada, yada, yada. And we've seen how that played out. And it isn't getting any better. And it looks like they may be in full rebuild this offseason. I don't know how they can just make a move or add a piece or any of that. I don't think quarterback's the issue. That offensive line is not good. The wide receivers are terrible. And it doesn't help that Jonathan Taylor's been hurt all year. So it's not going well there in Indianapolis, and Jeff Saturday has not lit a fire under the guys to get them playing any better. Cleveland, Baltimore, kind of a snooze fest here. My whole idea of picking Cleveland to win this game is that Baltimore had Tyler Huntley, and just no offense. And Cleveland's defense is pretty good. Cleveland couldn't move the ball either. 13-3, the Browns knock off the Ravens. Big division win for them. Ravens fall a game behind the Bengals. We'll talk about that game in a little bit, but the Ravens miss Lamar Jackson very dearly. And to be honest, this, other than it being an injury and them thinking, well, he's missing time, missing games, this is going to be something that plays into off-season negotiations, getting their, kind of holding their feet to the fire of, this is how bad the team looks when I'm not here. So maybe they're going to have to open up the coffers a little bit. But him getting dinged up the last 2 seasons, not going to go well in his favor in terms of negotiating for that hefty payday either. So we'll see how things progress with Baltimore. Cleveland, they're back and forth a little bit. It's clear that Deshaun Watson is still knocking rust off, and maybe they're looking at next season as being the year that they're going to compete. Buffalo, Miami got into a bit of a shootout here in this game, despite all the reports that we were going to get a ton of snow. They're talking possibly a foot, maybe a foot and a half of snow up there near Orchard Park. And then it snowed in the afternoon, and then it stopped. And they were able to clear the stadium out, essentially clear the field out, and get this game going without snowy conditions on the field. And we got a lot of points out of it. It snowed late. Buffalo was able to score the game-winning points there at the end. And Miami never really, they weren't going to do much in the snow. That offense is not built with snowshoes equipped. So Buffalo gets a big divisional win, move that much closer to securing the division. Essentially, their magic numbers 1. And they look like they're kind of hitting their peak right now. One concern still, run defense. Mostert broke off a few against them. And they still got to kind of shore that up. So we'll see how things go for Buffalo down the stretch. Miami is reeling right now, though. Losing 3 in a row is not good for them. I do want to make a note too. Like, Bills fans, be fucking better. Like don't be Philly. You want to be Philly? Throw snowballs on the field when there's no fucking snow on the field, especially when there's players on the field. You're hitting the cameramen and shit. Like, be better. Be better. All right, New Orleans, Atlanta. New Orleans gets the win here, 21-18. Divisional matchup here, and as the Bucks continue to lose games, like, this game mattered, right, in the standings. If Atlanta had been able to win, they'd be right, really kind of on the heels of Tampa Bay, and really threatening in the top of the NFC South there. So, Raul, what are your thoughts on this? What's going on with the NFC South, man? You're on mute, bud.
I don't know. Honestly, I just hate the fact that this is the division that we're seeing as like the real fight in the playoff. Like,
it's ugly, dude.
Yeah.
Most competitive division. It's dog shit.
I mean, yeah, it's like trying to like get excited about the fight for the bronze medal. It's not really too enticing.
One of these fucking teams is gonna host a playoff game, dude.
And none of them deserve it. That's the thing.
No, not at all.
All right, let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up my windows here real quick.
You're good.
But yeah, so I mean, this NFC South fight is just it's just not it for me. What game were we just going over last year?
Atlanta, New Orleans.
Atlanta, New Orleans. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Saints are not put together yet. New Orleans is not anyone to really. New Orleans is not really in any position to make a go for it, but neither is Atlanta. And I'm talking about the NFC as a whole. Now, within their division, the idea that this is such a close battle. I mean, we're talking about one game, and there's still some football left on the board. I mean, this is going to be kind of any given Sunday for these last couple weeks here, and it's going to be solid. I mean,
yeah.
It'll at least be enjoyable. I've been quietly rooting for, not so quietly, but I've been rooting for Atlanta to do well. They've got some good tools. Obviously struggling at the quarterback position. They just, I don't know. I want to see Cordero Patterson make a run for it. Like, I want to see him be great. because he has the
Yeah, they put the
potential.
young guy in at quarterback this weekend too, and it didn't look too good.
No,
He's
no, it
definitely
didn't.
still learning at the NFL level.
Got some room to grow there. I think
Yeah,
is
for
the
sure.
is the polite way we can put it. So, anyways, onward to Pittsburgh, and look, it's Carolina's in fucking disarray.
Yeah.
And they were in disarray when Baker Mayfield was there. And they were in disarray before Matt Rule got fired. And Matt Rule being at the head coach position probably, I mean, you can certainly blame some of the issues with Carolina on Rule, but again, I'm just much more of a fan of Matt Rule as a college quarterback or as a college coach. Not to say that he can't coach pro football, but his programs, what he did with Baylor, come on. He knows how to train winning teams in that college caliber, a little bit faster paced offense. That's his bread and butter, and it's not Nick Saban level, but again, it's like Nick Saban knows his lane, and it's college football. So, anyways, what are your thoughts on this game, Carolina?
Yeah, I had picked Carolina. They'd won a couple of games in a row, and I thought Pittsburgh was going to struggle, especially with Pickett being out. They did enough on offense to win the game. That defense is real good. They're healthy. I should not have underestimated how much health was going to play a factor for that defense. They are really good on defense and getting healthy. TJ Watt's back and tearing shit up. That defensive backfield's getting healthy again.
Yeah, it is.
And they can absolutely suffocate you. And that's what happened to the Panthers this weekend.
Yeah, that defense definitely doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah. They're damn good.
Yeah, I dig it.
On a bad team.
On a bad team. Yeah, defenses win championships, but I mean the offense has still got to do something.
You got to do something.
They got to do something. So I wouldn't say to no one's surprise, Philly won if we're just looking at the scoreboard. But if you watch the game, Justin Fields looked fantastic. And this was great quarterback against better quarterback, at least currently with the tools that he has. Is Justin Fields as good as Jalen Hurts with the Eagles, or is he better?
I think Justin Fields has more potential than Jalen Hurts.
That's where I'm at. I think
just
that Justin Fields traded going to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts goes to the Bears. Neither team looks the same, and I think that Philly is even more dangerous.
I think so too. I just look, his arm talent is better than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has got a fine arm. He's made some big throws this year, and people are oohing and ahhing about him.
And to clarify,
and
this
AJ
Jalen
Brown.
Hurts still has an above average NFL arm. It's just
sure.
Justin Fields is better than that.
Fields has borderline elite arm. If
vision.
he's ever afforded time in the pocket, that offensive line is just so bad, and they've got no wide receivers. The fact that he's keeping them in games, and they were in this game against Philly, like the whole game. They were there was never a time that Philly just kind of ran away and disappeared on them. Chicago just didn't have enough horses, and AJ Brown makes a huge difference there for Philly. But I think 100%, if you supplant Justin Fields and move him over to Philly and you put Jalen Hurts on Chicago, I think Chicago's worse and Philly's better, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I'm of the same thought. I think for me, when you look at somebody who has, I would dare say, where do I place him? He's just out of the top 5 as far as arm talent currently in the NFL, starting quarterbacks. Just outside of the top 5. I'd put him at 7. He's top 10, no doubt. Jalen Hurts probably sits closer to 10 as far as arm talent.
I have Hurts kind of middle of the pack in terms of arm talent. I watch him miss easy throws a lot.
Yeah.
I just think that he's an athlete, and that's what he gets away with in that Philly offense because they've put a lot of weapons around him. There's no question they've got weapons on that offense. They've got pretty serviceable running backs in Boston Scott and Miles Sanders. They've got a really good tight end when he's healthy in Dallas Goedert. And A.J. Brown is a top 5, top 7 wide receiver in the NFL. And Devontae Smith is one of those guys that he's maybe maybe a top 5 number 2 in the NFL. If you look at number 2 wide receivers in the NFL, he's got to be pretty high on the list. So they've got a lot of talent around him, and they've got one of the best offensive lines in football. He's afforded a lot of leash to make mistakes and miss with throws and get away with a lot of them because defenses can't play them the way that they can play other teams, a la Chicago, because Chicago doesn't have anybody that threatens them the way that a guy like A.J. Brown does, honestly. So, yeah, I'm with you. Fields, I think, has a lot of potential. I just hope the Bears actually build around him because I think they can win a lot of football games.
I think that they need
get
to
a couple of wide receivers and put a fucking offensive line in front of him.
Yeah. Well, it's either you build around this man or you fucking let him go so that he can have a career.
Right.
Because, I mean, as a football fan, I want to see Justin Fields do great.
100%.
And I think with Jalen Hurts, despite the hype, despite how great the team looks, I'm not comparing play style, but just as far as what I see as far as star power, I'm seeing a Carson Wentz kind of season where he's gonna have a good couple seasons and then they're gonna figure him out. He can obviously scramble, he can run, he has that ability. He's got that kind of Kyler movement. But Justin Fields is even like more Kyler than Kyler should be.
Yeah, Fields is a big, tough guy too. He takes a pounding and just keeps coming at you. Yeah. I don't know how long that's gonna, he can continue to do that. Cam Newton, he's gonna wear down, but they've got to get some weapons around him. And with Hurts, it's I hate to sit here and just be contrarian, but I listen to people talk about him on a weekly basis, and they're saying like these things that I watch him play, and I'm like, that's not correct. Just because he's winning a bunch of games and the stats on the surface, the stats look pretty gaudy. I watch the guy play. He's in my division. I see things a lot differently. When he misses a throw, nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about how bad a decision maker he is inside the pocket. And it's,
well, it's because you're having two different conversations.
MVP. Yeah, for sure. He's probably going to win MVP because they're successful, but.
Right. And that's exactly the point, is that it's two different conversations. You're talking about Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, and then you're talking about Jalen Hurts as a quarterback of the number 1 team in the NFL right now. And so you're always, because of that, you're going to get the shoe in. There's Heisman winners that are national champions that probably shouldn't have gotten the Heisman that year, but because they're Heisman winners, because they're national champions, going into the season, they have some prolific season along the way, and they're undefeated in season. It's going to happen. You're going to be a shoe, and it's a reason why defenders don't get a good look at the MVP is because the quarterback is that position. They take the credit.
100%.
But what you're talking about is whether or not he's a good quarterback, and you're pointing out some of the flaws that you shouldn't be seeing in a quarterback that's of the caliber you're claiming he is.
I would just challenge people out there to take a look at kind of over the course of a game for Philadelphia. Don't look at the score.
Yeah.
Because they get hot, and on a couple straight drives they score. Yeah. And if you score 2 times, 3 times in a row, you're well on your way to 30 points. But there's like 11 possessions in a game-ish. They disappear for long stretches on offense.
And, I mean, there's almost a quarter in a game where you'll see them just kind of disappear. And honestly,
it was half.
I was just going to say, against Chicago, it looked like more of a half.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we get to see these 2 great quarterbacks battle. I love that game. That was my favorite game of the week, honestly, is watching that shootout, because it was, the offensive minds, but watching young quarterbacks who are still hungry and trying to prove a name. Jalen is getting closer to proving his name, but Justin Fields, his response, taking advantage of those stretches where Philly wasn't doing great and they were, 3 and outing on the defense. So I really liked seeing that. Obviously, we needed Chicago's defense to kind of step up and hold the ball in some critical moments there, but it was never a blowout. Chicago was in trouble a majority of that game.
Philly's the better team, though.
Yeah, of course. They got more weapons, and that's fine. But there was some equalizing, I think, that happened in that game. And so we'll see what happens. The injured shoulder, he's doubtful for Sunday. So I'm curious about that. We'll be potentially seeing Gardner Minshew at the start.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting going into this week and get into that a little later.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
unanimous here, but almost all three of
Woo!
us wrong here.
Woo!
Kansas City, I mean, barely fucking squeaks away with a win here,
Oh,
30-24. Man, what a game!
a walk-off
If you're
rushing touchdown
Houston,
in overtime.
if you're
Yeesh.
Houston, dude, you were I mean, before overtime, you were so lit.
Yeah.
Like Houston was on fire.
Yeah.
Blowing up in the news feed. Houston was on fire. Let me tell you personally, seen it on the gram.
Couldn't finish
So
though. 2 weeks in a
couldn't.
row, man. They had
Yeah.
Dallas on the ropes. They had Kansas City on the ropes, and they couldn't finish.
Well, and
Couldn't
depth of
finish.
bench,
Yep. Yep.
play calling ability,
Talent.
tools, weapons. Yeah,
Talent overall.
all the above. All the above. Keep in mind, Philly, something else to keep in mind here. These guys have monsters rotating in the defensive line. I meant to bring that up earlier.
Yeah.
They're one of I wouldn't say they're one of the few, but as far as star power and caliber and heavy hitting defensive linemen that are able to penetrate an offensive line, get to that fucking quarterback, put pressure on him consistently. To have that many monsters rotating. So these guys are getting breathers in the middle of this defense. I mean, it's scary. It creates a lot of great opportunities for Jalen. And back to my point, Justin would be better with those opportunities. But let's go back to the point. Kansas City barely squeaking away here. And, I mean, you could call it like a home game advantage, but Kansas City should be immune to this.
Against a Houston, especially.
Against a terrible Houston offense.
Yeah. This didn't make a lot of sense to me. I feel like Kansas City kind of sleepwalked through the game.
Yeah, it was an anomaly.
Yeah, and Houston got up for it. Houston hasn't been an easy out this year. Let's get that clear. They've been blown out, I think, twice this year. Yeah. Other than that, they've been in every game. They've lost like 7, I think, one-score games. They've been in these games, so they're not an easy out. And Kansas City found out this weekend. And like I said, this is 2 weeks in a row. They had powerful, high-ranking, top 10 teams on the ropes with Dallas and Kansas City, and they couldn't finish. And that's something young teams have to figure out, right? How do we finish games? How do we win games? But on the other side of the coin, that's what good teams do. They find a way to win when they're stuck in mud, right? They find a way to score just enough to get there. Butker misses a field goal. They don't let it get them down, and they go and they score that game-winning touchdown in overtime. It's one of those things. It's kind of the two ends of the spectrum. Good teams find ways to win, and bad teams don't quite know how to win, or they find ways to lose.
Yeah, and I think it was just, Kansas City finding a way to win, having the ability to do so. I mean, and that run was spectacular. What a way to finish! What a way to finish the game. All right, and onward. Anyways, fuck. I don't know, Cowboys. Let's go ahead and address this one. If there was any Dallas fans, myself included, running with the Matt Ryan memes, hey, shut the fuck up, dude. Just shut the fuck up. The offensive play call to run a pass on a third down, when you really you need the first down, the final seconds of the game, all you really needed to do is go. Don't get adventurous. Don't get adventurous. You're trying to burn the clock. And to go incomplete pass, stop the clock. It was terrible clock management. That's not even, that was arrogant. That was greed. That was, no. You don't get to do that when it's that close. I don't give a shit who the team is. You don't get to do that. And then you get karmic payment immediately following. And you fucking deserved it. So, you know what? Dallas, Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, You fucking deserve this. Dak Prescott, you deserve this. The interception, I will fucking point, was a deflection off the chest. I won't hear slander on Dak for that pass. That pass was right where it needed to be. Hit him in the numbers. You're fucking raising your eyebrows, and I won't hear it. Watch the replay. Hit him in the fucking numbers, dude. It bounced off his chest plate.
Dak sucks.
Dak sucks, no doubt. But the
so
pass,
good.
I'm arguing the pass. Simply the pass.
Fine. We can chalk that one up to say, oh, that's bad luck. I think the defender tipped it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I thought I saw it hit his chest plate, but either way,
I think it did hit his chest after the defender deflected it when the ball was thrown behind him. However, the throw for the first interception in your own end, an absolute miss. Like, I don't know what Dak saw. I don't know what he thought he saw, but he hit the defender in fucking stride. Like,
yeah,
yep. One or two of those a game, you get them from Dak, and that's not a $40 million guy, and that's not a guy who's going to win you a Super Bowl. That's not a guy who's going to carry your team through when games get tough, because you don't have the running game that you once had that you can just turn around and put it in the belly of the running back 50 times in a game and say, we're going to go win this thing. The defense exposed in consecutive weeks against what everybody thought were inferior offenses. One of them being the
out
fucking
early.
Texans.
Making note of that.
Yeah, Van Der Esch. It's like it's the old Sean Lee thing, right? When he's in, he's good. When he's out, the defense struggles, right? Sean Lee was probably the MVP of a couple of seasons based on the fact of how bad Dallas's defense was.
He was also Bubba from Varsity Blues.
That too, yeah. But it's just
concussion prone.
Absolutely. But it's just Dak is not a guy that you can hang your hat on and say, this is our guy that's going to go win us a game in December, going to go win us a game in January, and take us to the promised land in February. It's just not going to happen.
Amen, senior. Yeah. Amen. That's pretty much what he did.
And everybody's going to point to, they scored 34 points, or they're averaging 38 points over the last 6 weeks. Yeah, that's fine. A lot of teams in the NFL are averaging 30-plus points, right? It's the nature of today's game.
Right. There's a such thing as garbage time, right?
And he does put up a ton against bad teams and in garbage time. Absolutely.
Yeah. And in this case, none of his points were garbage time. He just couldn't also...
He couldn't close out garbage time.
He couldn't close out garbage time.
It's not good.
You know?
It's not good.
It was a shame, honestly.
On the other side, though, hey, Jags, way to fight.
Duval.
Way to come back. Sunshine looks like the real deal. They've got something going there with Lawrence and those young guys.
Doug Peterson's the fucking answer to that team,
ETN is a real threat at the running back position. And, yeah, Doug Peterson's got them boys fucking playing.
He's recreating what he's good at.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So they got something going there in Jacksonville, man. Duval.
Yeah, man. Love it. Detroit victorious against the Jets. And this was another we saw some really good overtime games. We saw some nail biters, less than, one possession games. And this was another one. This was a hard fought victory with a, quarterback situation in New York. Zach Wilson in the game, there was some skepticism behind him, and he performed well.
I thought he played well.
He played well. I can't knock the kid. There's mistakes always made, but he played a solid game. He played the game necessary to get it done. He took the chances. I thought his read, he was completely cohesive with his offensive unit.
He looked a lot better in this game than he looked in the game before he got benched. And maybe it was a wake-up call. Maybe they've got something figured out.
Get your head in the playbooks, do the homework.
You mentioned clock management with Dallas, though.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh needs to go back to the drawing board. That clock management on their last drive, they lost, I think it was like 51 seconds because they just didn't want to take their timeouts. And eventually you get to a point where you don't have enough time left on the clock to even run 3 plays to use 3 timeouts.
Well, they burned 30 seconds after first down. It was,
and then on another one, that was the 3rd and 19 or 3rd and something, and they completed it for 19 yards. They wasted 30 seconds there, and then they completed another one on a 2nd and 9 that was like a yard short or a yard good on the sticks, and they wasted another like 20-some seconds. They wasted like 51, I think,
It's
seconds between the two
fucking
plays. It was
unbelievable.
unacceptable too. Like you've got to understand, you've got 3 timeouts in your pocket, man. You cannot. Yeah, it's been great this year. A lot of games settled in the last possession, last second field goals. And the Jets, I think, would have had a good shot at getting down the field and tying this thing up because they were moving the ball. Other than the fact that they wasted all that damn time, golly, I know he's a young coach, but I have to think that, like, in your head, it's just obvious that I can't let my offensive line run 20 yards and then not call a timeout, right? Like that's 4 or 5 seconds for them to get down the field to begin with, get set to another 5 seconds or so, get a play actually called at the line. Like you're just adding time that you're losing with 3 seconds in your pocket. You can't take them with you.
You got to do better than that, period.
Absolutely.
Clock management lost them that game.
Mm-hmm. Great game, though. Great game. And it's a big win for Detroit. They're 6 out of their last 7,
dude.
And they're now at 500. They're only a half game out of a playoff spot, dude.
They've got a nice matchup this weekend that's going to be in their favor.
Yeah. They've got a really favorable schedule down the stretch.
I'm just saying.
The whole stretch run for
they're a fucking dark horse, dude. And I think Motor City Dan Campbell's the man to fucking bring him there. Oh, MCDC is – that man's a torch for that locker room.
I'm a peacock if they get in. I called him my dark horse for the playoffs start of the season. And
I love it.
Took a lot of heat for it.
Maybe we'll get an Andy appearance if if they lock in playoff spot 7.
We'll have to get him in.
We'll have to get him in. Hell or high water.
Yeah.
Either way, great game for Detroit. Nail biter, great football. Senior, this whole season has definitely been filled with some great football games.
Absolutely.
It's been, all in all, the upset surprises, all of it has been entertaining nonetheless. Denver getting a win here. 24-15 against an absolutely injury-ridden. Yeah. I mean, they are crippled beyond repair. And it's at the head of that snake in Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
I
don't think he survives this year, to be completely honest.
Even it would be irresponsible of the Arizona organization to keep him on payroll.
Agreed. Denver's got a defense, though. They were always going to give them problems on offense, and Colt McCoy for all that he brings to the table as a savvy vet, as a quality backup. It's a tough task to go against Denver. You're injury depleted on the offensive line. Your running backs are both nicked up. Yeah. It just couldn't get it done. And Brett Rippon, I have to shout him out because his father or his uncle won the last Super Bowl that Washington won. So his uncle is Mark Rippon, who played quarterback for the 91 Super Bowl champion Washington. Then were called Redskins. So I want to see him be successful.
Yeah, for sure, man. I try to think about who we could see coaching in Arizona, and maybe we'll have to dig into this deeper in a Capper Facts or some type of segment. Yeah. But who could we maybe something for the end of the season? Let's talk about who could we see replace Cliff Kingsbury. Who would be good in that position?
I think you're going to see a young offensive coordinator, or maybe they could go back to the college ranks and go get Lincoln Riley, maybe, with the relationship that he and Kyler obviously have. But you're probably going to see a young offensive
I don't think Kyler's worth that gamble.
Probably from the Shanahan tree.
You think?
I think so. I think you're going to see someone who runs an offense that kind of moves the ball and focuses on kind of shifting things. Cliff is kind of a straight drop back, let Kyler sandlot it, and it works at times. As we saw, they were 8-1, I believe, last year. At one point, they were last undefeated team, and they were 8-1 before they fell apart. But often it doesn't work because you don't have a solid approach to the game, a game plan, and I think Kyler needs a little more structure. within an offense, and he needs a guy that's going to be able to be innovative. Maybe you look down in Miami, Mike McDaniel's offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach. You could see maybe even going straight to the source, going to San Francisco, poaching. I forget who runs their offense, but they've got a pretty young mind, mind there that replaced Kevin O'Connell, who's up in Minnesota now. Could be something along those lines.
I mean, my initial thought was not looking at current contracts, just looking at who I think would fit well there. I think Kellen Moore.
It could be someone like that, young. Seems to be a guy that everybody has a little momentum behind as a head coach soon.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that offensive-minded guy. I think you have to go offensive-minded because of who you have at quarterback and how much you paid.
And who you have at wide receiver. I mean, we're not going to have much D-Hop left.
Right. We got 2-3 years where he's in his prime.
Right.
So.
Right. You figure out that running back
Yeah,
position.
Dad, that's the right Rippin family.
You get a good running back to commit behind that setup. Then it's a matter of just, getting some decent offensive lines in a draft, and you're gonna be in business.
I think that's a good point, right? Running back is something they really need to focus on because,
they have to, man.
Connor's fine.
Well, and Kyler can't be running 5 miles of fucking play,
exactly.
dude. Jesus Christ, man. Give him somebody to dump the ball off to.
Got to have a guy that's a dual threat guy for sure. They need.
He needs a Tony Pollard.
Yeah, he needs a guy like that.
Tony Pollard's going to be a starter somewhere next year.
Yep, and it probably won't be in Dallas because I don't know that they're going to make the right decision.
No, and that would be it would be the right decision, but Zeke, it's not going to happen. Zeke is we're a glutton for punishment. Zeke is going to be our running back next year, just as Dak will continue to be our quarterback. I mean, this is not NFC Championship is still a possibility, but it's not because the Cowboys are a legitimately good team. It's because the NFC as a whole is in disarray.
The NFC is pretty bad.
Yeah.
With the exception of a couple of teams, the NFC is pretty bad.
Right. Exactly. All right. Listen, this game was fucked. This game, I'm on Victory Island here.
What a wild fucking...
And I should not have been on Victory Island.
Holy shit.
Okay, we talked about the replays in the chat. We discussed it. I'm telling you right now, dude, everyone has to agree that this was not in. I don't give a fuck if you're a Raiders fan.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way that was in.
I don't know how they called it. I don't know how they called it on the field. I get it, right?
Yeah, but in game, they were
saying... They fucking reviewed it.
In game, they were saying in the review, this is the camera angle they're watching. And it's the one from, the blimp.
He's clearly out of bounds.
And you could still see he was out of bounds, but you're telling me you didn't have a single other camera. No. There's no way, dude.
Yeah,
there's no fucking way that no one else.
I don't know how they review that and still call that a touchdown. It's so clearly out of bounds.
It's so clearly out of bounds.
It's not good.
Yeah.
I don't
even the freeze frame photo. What do you see? You see white turf in the air. That's
right.
That's how fucking egregious that was. Guys.
His entire toe was out of bounds.
Yeah.
We're not talking about ticky tack. He's maybe the blade of grass.
No, the pad of his foot is on the
right.
white.
He's over the line.
And that's unfortunate, right? Because he plants the right leg, the left leg comes down just a hair. He's 2 inches out of bounds.
Yeah.
But
he's out of bounds.
But he's fucking out of bounds, and it's blatant.
It's so bad. I don't know how they did it.
Vegas gets it. Look, the pick 6 was fucking phenomenal.
That was bananas, dude.
Because I was thinking
pitchy woo woo in a fucking tie.
It was the worst thing, dude. Bill Belichick. I want to see Bill Belichick in that locker room after that game's over. Bill Belichick in that locker room, dude. In that fucking locker room.
Oh my god.
I set a fucking fire in the locker room because that would be easier to do.
Lost it.
Who got the game ball? I wonder.
Mac Jones.
Oh, most definitely.
He had to get something after losing his fucking soul.
Yeah.
Chandler Jones fucking planted him. That was a Derrick Henry stiff arm by a defensive end.
Oh
Oh
God.
God.
It was terrible. It really
Yeah,
was.
it was technically a fumble return for 6. But it
Yeah.
looked like
All
a
right.
damn pick. He snatched it out of the air.
Yeah, the scoop and score.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what Jacoby Myers is doing, throwing the ball 20 yards backwards. Like, ugh. You're throwing it to Mac Jones? Did you think he was just gonna haul off and throw it again? Like, can't do that.
The memes that
Yeah,
have come out of this for Jacoby Myers.
worth
God,
it. Worth it.
the internet remains undefeated.
Undefeated.
But yeah, obviously Pat's got robbed. I'm not actually right here. We know what the score should have been. I told myself the ball doesn't lie, and then the scoop and score
And the
happens,
ball
and I'm
lied.
like, the fucking ball lied. I retract my previous statement.
There's some weird conspiracy theory advocates out there pitching the idea that Belichick dumped this game on purpose to save Josh McDaniels' job. No, they have a chance at getting into the fucking playoffs, man.
That's
They're
just
not dumping
That's
games,
just implying that Bill Belichick is personable,
right? That too. Yeah,
and that's not. It's not happening.
no.
That guy is just shy of autistic. He is so antisocial.
Yeah.
All right, Tennessee. You know, the Chargers played a great game. Okay, 17-14, Chargers win. Just so many mistakes from the offense that we saw in Tennessee. We didn't see a lot of really fluid offense from the Chargers even. So
This was a really choppy, really slow game.
Yeah.
And
I felt like I was watching a fucking
17-14 feels
scrimmage.
about right, I guess. But yeah, it was like Tennessee would get a little something going, then they'd shoot themselves in the foot. Chargers would get a little something going, and they'd shoot themselves in the foot. And this looked like it was a possible matchup. This could be a playoff matchup, right?
Yeah.
If Tennessee ends up winning the South and the Chargers finish a little higher in the wild card, this could be a playoff fucking matchup. But that was ugly football for large stretches of that game, and it's a good win for Chargers. They're pushing themselves deep into playoff contention. But the Titans, just like the NFC South, the AFC South is fucking bad. If it wasn't for the Texans, they would almost be the same fucking division. Really, the Texans and the Colts, but they would almost be the same damn divisions because the team in first place is fucking 7-7.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
Yeah,
Jags are coming though. Jags are coming.
Something's brewing out in Duval. Something's brewing, and I'm glad that we don't face the Jags any other time in the season because we can just take this loss in stride and move on with our fucking lives. Tiger King, with a dominant performance.
He spotted Brady 17.
Listen, this man.
This is the weirdest season I think I've ever seen. Like Tom Brady just makes it so weird with how much he struggles.
Yeah. The
Bengals spot him 17, and then Brady, I don't know, shuts it down. Like, when has Brady ever done that? And Burrow gets it going and just shreds him.
Burrow drug his he drug his nuts all over that. I mean,
once he figured that defense out, they had no chance. They had no fucking chance.
It says more to me about the Bucs than it does the Bengals. We talked about the Bengals a couple weeks ago. They're the most dangerous team in football right now.
I think so. I think that remains true.
Yeah, and to see Brady struggle as much as he did, I don't know, dude.
It's weird.
Is it time to hang him up?
No. I was talking to my brother about this the other day. I don't think he's going to. I also think that he's not fully invested in this Bucs team. And I think that's, to me, is the biggest difference in Brady now versus what Brady would have been.
He'll be on the market soon.
I think absolutely. He's in his last year of his contract. I don't think he would be in Tampa this year if they'd have found a way to let him out of his contract. I think when he retired, he was really hoping the Bucs would sign or trade for somebody in like a panic move that they had to go get a quarterback.
Yeah.
But when they didn't, he kind of was stuck and had to come back to Tampa. Yeah, I mean, buy low for sure. But I think right now he's not fully invested in
Who buys low?
I think
New Orleans.
I think Miami, maybe New Orleans, but I don't know that Brady looks at New Orleans as a Super Bowl caliber roster.
Yeah.
I think it's down to just a few options. This is part of what I was talking to my brother about the other day. I had it narrowed down to like Vegas, Miami, and maybe Seattle.
Seattle
are the three, right? Because I think that Seattle has rebuilt a lot faster with the draft that they had. They've rebuilt a lot faster, and they've still got Metcalf and Lockett. They've got Fant, who's a pretty solid tight end. So I'm down to three teams that I think are really in the running. Yeah, Jake, I think that's probably really close because that offensive line is really bad.
Yeah.
And he and Mike Evans are really out of sync. I don't know what's going on with him and Mike Evans, but it seems like all of his bad throws throughout the course of a game are intended for Mike Evans. Yeah. And he misses bad. And then you see him like looking like, what the fuck were you doing? Like they're not on the same page is what it feels like with him and Mike Evans right now. Probably. And he'd be well within his right because
100%
fuck off. But yeah, I'm like Jake said, I just feel like right now this Tampa team, they don't have a ton. The offensive line is really bad. I look at those three teams. I don't think Miami's
to see Bruce Arians and Tom Brady get a Super Bowl together.
Yeah, that was more Tom than
100%. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just,
For sure. I could see Miami. I could see Vegas. I could see Seattle. If San Fran found a way to move on from Trey Lance, maybe, but I don't know that they can. I don't think they could justify moving on from him. If his rehab takes longer than they expect, maybe they bring Brady in and find a way to finagle the money. Possibly. It'd be interesting to see him go back and play at home. And then I was looking at other quarterback teams that might be in the quarterback market. Two of them stick out to me. The Jets would be one that is really desperate for a quarterback. I think if they get to the end of the season and Zach Wilson's not the guy, they could look at it and say, we've got young pieces in place. We've got a really, really good defense. Does Brady look at that and say, I can win a Super Bowl with that defense? Maybe. And then my long shot of teams that will likely be quarterback needy in the offseason looking for an answer is Washington. And I don't think that there's any chance that Brady goes and plays if Dan Snyder is still the owner. If Snyder sells, that could be a little bit of a wild card, but I still don't know that Brady looks at that roster and says, I can go win a Super Bowl with that roster. The offensive line is still really bad. Good wide receivers, really good defense at times, maybe. That's my longest shot of the teams I think that are going to be looking for a quarterback in the offseason. But I think that Miami, Vegas, or Seattle, for me, I think that's where he ends up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anyone else that I could think of. I mean, I like the Seattle move a lot.
I think he and Pete Carroll would be good together, too. With their attitudes and the way they approach the game, I think that could be really good. And they've got talent. Metcalf, Lockett, Fant. They've got a good running back in Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, they do.
And he's a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield, and we all know how much Brady loves backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Well,
that's the list of teams that I could come up with that really made any semblance of sense.
Fair enough.
Brady in the offseason.
All right. Hell of a tangent there. Washington. All of us here, just party of three for fucking Loserville, as Washington gets some of the most blatant disrespect from an officiating perspective than I've seen in a very long time. Critical pass interference miss in the end zone. I mean, we are seeing very, very blatant performance here from an officiating perspective, and I hate it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this once, and I'm not gonna harp on it too much, but
Until
like
the next time it happens.
for yeah,
It's
maybe,
gonna
but
happen again. We
on
know.
this show, I'm not gonna dwell on it too much. But for anybody out there that watched that game and says, "Wow, Washington really got jobbed in this game," that's honestly been the case for about 20 years. And I do think that the NFL has something for Dan Snyder. I think there's something about that goes into it. I also think that like there's just this thing that refs have, that there's this, I don't know if it's an implicit or an explicit bias that they focus on things before games, but it just seems like in crucial moments, the ones that are the judgment calls always go against Washington, and it doesn't make any sense. The one that pisses me off the most is the illegal formation. Terry checked with the official twice and
Yeah.
moved up
Gets a thumb
twice.
up.
And then for Terry McAuley after the game to say like he's visibly disappointed in the officiating on that last sequence of plays, and says like, one, he checked with him, and two, we usually give a little bit of leeway. Now I will say this: on video, Terry McLaurin is off the line of scrimmage. Okay, he is in an illegal formation. However, on almost every single play, NFL teams are in an illegal formation. And I'll give you the prime example of how it is. The left tackle and the right tackle, if you look at where they're lined up, they're in the backfield. They are supposed to cut the waistline of the guy that's in front of them. But almost on every single play, the left tackle or the right tackle has their toe lined up with the heel of the guy lined up next to them. And if you look at where tight ends line up when they get on the line of scrimmage, they're literally 2 yards in front of the tackles. So for them to call that illegal formation in that scenario, that's the one that pisses me off the most, because Terry checked with him twice. And it had nothing to do with the fucking play. Like, it was just so out of bounds for him to make that call. That's the one that pisses me off the most. And for a guy like Terry McAuley, who is the first to always find a way to say, oh, the refs got it right on the field, he will look at a replay that you could say that dude's whole leg is out of bounds. He'll find a way to say, no, the refs got it right because X, Y, or Z. Fine. But for him to be the one after the game to say, like, that's really bad, like, it makes me understand, like, maybe I'm not so fucking just crazy tinfoil hat, right? But it's also like, why does this always have to happen? And maybe it's part of the reason why I'm just so anxious for Dan to just fucking sell this goddamn team. Dude, it's crazy, Aaron. He hugged him, like, and then for the fucking head of the goddamn crew, Ron Hussey, to come out and say, "Oh, it's a judgment call. We didn't feel like it impeded his pride." Dude, he fucking tackled him. He couldn't get either arm up to go for the football.
He bear hugged him, and
You're wrong. It's crazy.
It's not even close to right.
Chris Collinsworth, at least a half dozen fucking times during that game, was arguing with Terry McAuley about like this, that, the other. The one time he's like, you either have it wrong this time or you have it wrong every time for a play. I can't remember what. Oh, the offensive PI that we got a touchdown called back for.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, he says, or the 2-point conversion. I'm sorry. They called the OPI on the 2-point conversion. And Collinsworth is like, listen, this happens on every single play. You either have it wrong this time or you have it wrong every time. I don't know which one you want to go with, Terry, but.
And it's funny because I think that Chris Collinsworth is an example of somebody who is just, I mean, he's got a couple dozen years of time in this world, and he's also got a couple dozen brain cells maybe. And so he's fucking obnoxious in some of it. And to see him be that flustered was gold for me.
Yeah, for sure. I like Chris Collinsworth because he's not afraid to have that conversation. He's not afraid to say, like, listen, as a former player or as somebody watching this, like, I have to say, Terry, like, you guys got it wrong. You guys got it wrong. And whatever you're trying to sell me right now, it's fucking snake oil, and I'm not having it. So for all the complaints that everybody has about Collinsworth out there, I love that he's not afraid to fucking call it as it is.
I think that the stigma behind the refs is going to go away once they're less reluctant to just be accountable. And
when's that going to happen?
It's never going to fucking happen.
That's
because of the liability associated.
NFL,
the Shield is going to take the Shield.
Never.
Yeah, they'll never go against the Shield. But that's all. I mean, from a fan base perspective, from a fan's perspective, that's all I would want to see. And I wouldn't fucking hang him out to dry on episode every week if they were just like, man, we fucked up that one.
Right.
Like this was wrong. You know,
Right.
we call it, even after the fact, if they were to say, look, we investigated this was incorrect.
The NBA does this.
Yeah.
The NBA has it's the last 4 minutes or last 2 minutes report where, like, in the crucial points of the game, they actually have a league representative from the competition committee come out and say, you got this right, this right, this right, you got this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and these are things we're going to train on.
Right.
We're going to get better. But the difference between the NBA and the NFL, refs are a full-time job in the NBA, not in the
Brings
NFL.
us back to an earlier episode. You'll have to dig back and find it.
We have
full-time refs
fucking pounded the desk for that for a long time.
Yeah, this has been a multi-year effort, a multi-year conversation here on Backyard Blitz about making full-time refs. God damn it!
I will close this out with a little bit about the football of this game, though. Right, all of the crazy officiating aside, and all those things aside, Washington should not have been down late in this game. Washington should not have had the Giants running the ball and moving the ball up and down the field on them. We're sitting in fucking shell zone coverages. Jack Del Rio went back to his old fucking tricks and just sucked this game after a few solid weeks in a row of what I thought was really aggressive and really sound defensive play design and defensive play calling. He was awful. And the Giants had their way with fucking JV wide receivers just tearing us apart because they had all day in the backfield. Daniel Jones had all day. They had all the room in the world to run. And then offensively, like, at some point by the end of the first half, you would have thought that Scott Turner would have figured it the fuck out and said, hey, we've got to put a hand on Thibodeau. That dude was living in the backfield, and we never even tried to shift. We never even tried to get over and help. Like, all fucking Wink Martindale did was say, hey, Thibodeau, get in a wide 9 and go. That was all he was doing. He didn't do anything special. There weren't any stunts. There weren't any tricks. Get in a wide 9 and go because they've got weak side to you all day. Shift somebody over there. Get the running back over. Golly.
Yeah, we can't make adjustments at the half and at the end of the game. It's got to be in real time. And when they're running the same type of play for the same man every fucking time,
seriously,
it's because they're getting away with it.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Scott Turner is fucking so incapable. However, look, the Giants continue to figure this magic thing out.
Yeah.
They don't overwhelm you in any certain way. They just seem to be able to figure this out. Dable's got him playing, man.
Dable's a fucking wizard.
I thought they were going to lose out, but they're basically on the precipice of a playoff spot. They'd have to lose out to not. I think their magic number essentially is 1, but
robbery of a game though.
Yeah, we should have won it despite all the officiating. That's the one thing. The one thing that really irritates me about this team is that they don't show up prepared and they cannot overcome adversity. They are not good at overcoming in-game adversity.
Yeah. Whereas Dallas likes to tease that they're going to come back and then they don't.
Yeah.
So, or you do like last week and you just fucking completely disappear a quarter and a half left in the game.
Yeah.
Anyways, onward. Final game of the week. 12-24, Green Bay wins at home against the Rams. And the Rams are just not the Super Bowl caliber team that we knew them to be.
That roster got shredded.
Shredded, dude.
Yep.
Like some fresh Parmesan. They are, they're fucked, dude. That whole team.
The injuries don't help either in season.
Yeah, I mean,
Stafford's
Cooper
been
Kupp
banged up
is
all year. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
It's been a rough go this year. And, I think if you asked Les Snead and Sean McVay and Stan Kroenke, like, hey, is this season worth like as bad as this season is it worth knowing that you just won a Lombardi? And I think all three of them would probably say yes. However, this season has made us hungry to rebuild this thing. And that's, I think, where we're going to see the Rams go. And they've got their work cut out for them because they don't have picks.
Yeah.
They traded all those picks away for Stafford and to get rid of Goff. So they're going to have to do it without use of the draft. They're going to have to develop in-house. They're going to have to win in free agency and get guys in that can help complement. The Allen Robinson experiment didn't work. It's going to take a lot for them. But I'll tell you, on the other side of the ball, the Packers look like they're starting to kind of figure things out late in the season with those young wide receivers. Romeo Doubs looked good. Christian Watson continues to look good. Rodgers looks like he's starting to get pretty comfortable with those guys. Whether or not it's a run at the end of this season or if we're looking at next season, I think the Packers suddenly realize they've got a little something here and they're going to be dangerous.
100%. 100%. Man, I hope you guys tune into Tailgate Trash Talk because, I learned yesterday, or maybe this morning, that Bijan Robinson's declaring. And I'm already kind of hunting down where I think he's going to go.
I think he's in the top 10.
I think he should be. I don't think he needs to be a top 5, but definitely, top 10 for sure.
Yep. I think he's in the top 10.
I'd like to see him go to Arizona.
I think it's one of those teams that has 2 picks that's going to take him. I think Philly is a spot that I don't think they're going to re-sign Miles Sanders.
Right.
So I think they're going to be looking for a guy in the draft. And if they look at that and say, we've got the luxury of 2 first-round picks, especially if they go on and play in or win the Super Bowl, Bijan Robinson could be a guy that completes that offensive roster for them. But I think it's going to be something along those lines. One of those teams that has 2 first-round picks is going to take him pretty high.
Yeah, it'll be
good. He's
good.
A stud, dude. He's a stud. He's in my opinion, he's probably what looks like the most complete running back coming out of college since, and I know he flamed out, but he didn't get a fair rap where he went since Trent Richardson left Alabama. Honestly.
Yeah. That's a great reference.
Richardson failed. I don't think Robinson's going to do that, but what Trent Richardson was leaving college and leading into that draft, there's a reason he went as high as he did. I think we're looking at probably the most complete back since him, comparable maybe to like a Zeke Elliott with a little bit more of kind of that wiggle. I think Robinson's a little more shifty. I think they're both really good in the pass game, both catching it and blocking. I think they're both really good running it. I think Bijan Robinson has a little more make you miss, whereas Zeke was more of a run you over guy when he left Ohio State.
Right. Yeah, I think Zeke was probably the closest comparison that I was going to make. But Trent Richardson, a little bit further back, is a prime example. He has the same cutting skills, the same ball. I mean, he can catch it on the run. He can stay open whenever, and whenever it's time to take the big hits, he can do that. So I'm looking forward to seeing where he goes.
If Trent Richardson had gone anywhere but Cleveland, I think he would have been successful in the league.
Oh, no doubt.
I really do.
No doubt. Around the same time that we saw, Cheeseburger Eddie over in Green Bay, I just I would have loved to see him run with somebody like a Green Bay or
Yep.
Anyways, so all right, wrapping up the week here, and before we jump into the rest of the show, I do want to jump into the most important part of our segment of our show here, and us being a veteran-owned podcast here at Backyard Sports, we dedicate every episode to a fallen service member in our Folds of Honor segment called our Salute to Service. Tonight's episode is going to be dedicated to Army PFC Stuart Moore, who passed away December 22nd, 2003, serving during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was 21 years old from Livingston, Texas, and he was assigned to 2nd Battalion, 3rd Field Artillery Regiment, 1st Armored Division based in Gießen, Germany. He was killed December 22nd by an IED device in Baghdad. PFC Stuart Moore. We have the watch. I said IED device, which is redundant.
It's like ATM machine.
Yeah, that's fair. I do that too.
PIN number.
Damn. Okay. All right. Just really laying in on me here. So I see that my name has changed to Rule, so we'll run with that.
Oh, I fucking did too.
Damn guy.
I copy and paste in the Excel sheet. And
I'm from a rural area, so it works.
I fucked up the first one and never fucking.
You're just calling me country boy, and that's fine. I'm from the country. It works. It plays.
Golly.
Yeah, we'll move on. Anyways, Andy sitting alone picking the Jets here as the Jets play the Jags at home. So, yeah, I don't think that there's a wrong answer here. I think that the Jags still kind of ride some momentum going into this week. The Jets are fully capable of beating the Jags. Don't get me wrong. It depends on what Jags team walks onto that field. If this is the same team that we saw in the fourth quarter of the Jags game or of the Cowboys game, then the Jets are in fucking trouble.
Yeah.
But at the same time, aside from the clock management, if we see the fourth quarter performance and overtime performance from the Jets, then the Jags are in trouble. So, yeah, this is definitely a prime. It's a great way to start this is a very nice Thursday night football game.
Yeah, it is. I think it really is.
They're not hot names, but it's going to be equal caliber football.
Yeah. Should be a good game. Primetime game on Thursday night. This isn't the same old Jags getting a Thursday night game. They're in the playoff hunt. They're, I believe, exactly one game out of first place behind the Titans right now. And this is a game that they need. But also, if you're the Jets, you're right there on the precipice of playoffs as well, sitting in, I believe they're in the 6th spot right now, but I think they're tied with the team behind them in 7th, and then only a game up on 8th and 9th place there. Behind them in the playoffs as well, including the Jacksonville Jaguars are only a game behind the Jets. So if the Jags can get a win here, you're talking about potentially shifting the playoff seeding and potentially shifting first place in the AFC South, depending on the Titans result. This is a huge game. This is a huge game for the wild card standings and for the AFC South.
And how fortunate, for the Jags, for the Patriots, how fortunate is it, for the Jets, the Patriots, and the Jags, how fortunate is it that the Patriots lost?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a huge one, because if they'd have beaten the Raiders,
that keeps the Jets and the Jags in contention.
Yeah, for sure. So, and the Patriots' schedule lightens up a little bit. I think they have the Bills left, but they've got kind of their fate in their own hands if they were able to beat Vegas last week.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of these teams are looking at that game like, oh shit.
Yeah. Jets
go Chandler, go Chandler, go.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Atlanta here. Look, I just don't have faith in the consistency that I've seen out of Baltimore. Should I have faith in Atlanta? Absolutely fucking not. I'm acknowledging that it's a Hail Mary, but this is one of my dark horse victories. There's a few of them this week. I think that Atlanta is just going to be that sneaky team, and they're going to pull it off. I don't have a lot of confidence in Baltimore. The only person I have confidence in for the Ravens is Justin Tucker. All the fucking live long day.
For sure. My biggest thing in this game and why I went with Baltimore is that there is optimism that Lamar plays this weekend.
Yeah.
And if he plays, I do think that they're going to be just the better team, better than Atlanta. If he doesn't play,
Lamar doesn't start.
Yeah, if he doesn't play, you're in a good spot on Victory Island because they are not a good team with Tyler Huntley at quarterback. And if Atlanta can scrape together 17 points, that should be plenty enough to beat a Tyler Huntley-led Baltimore Ravens team. But
Yeah.
my pick is essentially banking on the fact that there's optimism about Lamar playing. Very sloppy, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they can't just rely on Lamar to just kind of run around back there and make a play, for sure. They don't look the same when he's not there.
100%. If they're stuck with Tyler Huntley, it'll be they're going to put up 13 points.
They'll be lucky. 13.
It'll be because Justin. I mean, honestly, we could very, very well see 12 points.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
So,
and them being a different team, it's not just the quarterback either. Like, I want to clarify, like, they just don't look the same when they don't have Lamar, and to not have him in there, I can imagine guys kind of check out, like, oh shit, we don't have our guy.
Yeah, understandable. So one that we're all united here against is Detroit. Going on the road to Carolina, we're all standing with Detroit. Riding that, I mean, they've got a great momentum going into this week against a formidable opponent, and now they get to go and impose their will against a struggling Carolina offense. This is a great opportunity, and I'm not calling this a rest week.
I like that word. I like that word, opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
Yep.
And because we can't call the Lions a shoo-in, but they're riding this momentum, and they need to be conservative in their efforts. But at the same time, they need to still win this game, and this is a perfect opportunity to do so. Yeah. Carolina is in big trouble, and Detroit is a much better team. However, they cannot fuck this up.
Can't. Beating a team like Carolina makes a statement of, we know we're good. We know we're on the path towards something. If they go and lay an egg on the road in Carolina, it's the thoughts are going to creep in. Oh, it's the same old Lions. It's the same old Lions. And then we're going to be looking at next year, because I believe that the Lions have to win out to get into the playoffs. They have to win out to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They can't drop one.
Senior, I agree. That's why I'm going against the Ravens, as they just seem sloppy and inconsistent. And I'm also, again, working on. I'm gambling on Lamar not getting the start this weekend.
Lamar being street close.
But yeah, they have to produce. I mean, they have to just continue. Look, we are 15 weeks into the season, and the last 30% of the team, or percent of the season, they've done well. The last 40% of the season, they've done well. Yeah. And so let's see that. Let's see that again against a team that you should no doubt win against. And just, reaffirm yourself as, hey, we're here and we're coming for that wild card spot. Because the NFC North, if it wasn't for if the Packers were good, it wouldn't even be of concern. But the NFC as a whole looks like shit. The NFC North, it's pretty much the Vikings. And we have an opportunity here. If I'm Detroit, we have an opportunity here to show and to fucking laugh at everybody and say, haha, you checked us, you wrote us off, but I ain't right back.
This is a two-team division. This isn't just the Vikings, right? This is our time to make a playoff run when nobody expected it.
Yeah, they're beating the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers right now, as far as record is concerned. So, ride high on that. Listen, we've talked a lot, we've given a lot of praise to Buffalo, or to Chicago, to Justin Fields specifically, but Buffalo is gonna fucking destroy Chicago. Yeah, and they're gonna do it at home.
It's gonna be ugly. It's just a matter of the difference between these two teams. That offensive line is really bad, and if Buffalo doesn't let Justin Fields get loose and run for 100 yards, he's going to be in trouble all day, under pressure a lot. The only X factor for me is they are anticipating a blizzard in Chicago this weekend, which could impact a little bit of kind of how each offense operates. But I still think that Buffalo is just that much more talented than Chicago.
Yeah.
Despite all the praise for Justin Fields, I just think there's not enough around him for them to compete with a team of the caliber of the Buffalo Bills.
No, the Buffalo Bills are something else, and they are cold immune. Look, it'll create a game, no doubt. If
It's
there's a
going to make a
blizzard,
slow game, but
Soldier
they know how
Field's
to
going to
play
be
in
lit.
snow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Chicago and Buffalo are the two teams I really think about when I think about snow.
Absolutely. And Green Bay a little
Yeah,
bit.
and Lambeau.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, aside from Lambeau, I would say that Lambeau is probably the first one I think about in the snow.
Frozen tundra.
Dude, the frozen north. All right. This game, I honestly could not give a fuck less about. Cleveland, we all picked Cleveland against New Orleans. New Orleans not ready to be good yet. Cleveland, I just, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out on Cleveland.
This is going to be an ugly slap fight. 13-10. I picked Cleveland because they're home.
13-10. That's guaranteed.
I'll use 13-9. Fuck it.
Oh, that's good. That's real good. 13-9. What an ugly score. So I don't think this should be surprising, but we are unanimous against the Kansas City Chiefs. Seattle, formidable opponent, but again, we're talking about the Kansas City fucking Chiefs here. We're going to see a pissed off Andy Reid all week. My man is consuming large amounts of cheeseburgers all week.
Oh, dude. He's
all the cheeseburgers.
Two-fisted cheeseburgers.
These double-fisted
Castles.
McDoubles down the gullet in the film room when he's not screaming.
Yeah.
At this
that was a bad performance last week, and they're going to want to bounce back. I feel bad for Seattle having to go to Kansas City and play them after that.
Yeah, the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. Yeah.
And an Arrowhead. I mean, this is going to be a tough fucking go. Dude, Seattle is one of the toughest stadiums to play in, period.
Yeah.
But Arrowhead, after a shitty win.
Yeah. It's a stadium that already has all the fucking decibel records.
The only thing
back from Seattle.
Yeah. The only thing worse is if they're following a loss at home.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing
they
worse.
Really want to take their heads off.
Yeah, after a Titans loss, that is like probably the worst time to come back and try to play at Arrowhead. This is a game of two teams. The Vikings at home against New York. This is a game of two teams that I feel like we're going to see the magic fade. It's just Kirk Cochains is on something.
He might have sold his soul last week at halftime.
Dude,
he might be out of favors to call in to fucking Lucifer.
Dude.
33-0. Even against the Colts. 33 to fucking donut. And you end up winning that goddamn game. Woo!
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I just continue to come back to the fact that magic versus magic. I just continue.
Dalvin Cook is.
I don't think the fucking Giants are very good, man. And I just think at home the Vikings. If the Vikings are going to win a game by a lot of points, this is the one. However, they are 11-3. Do you know what their point differential is? Because I brought it up last week and they were -1.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're an 11-3 football team. They were 10-3 with a -1 point differential. Now they're +2 at 11-3 in their point differential on the season. How in the fuck? They're 10-0, I think, in one-score games. Never been done. They've also tied now the record for most one-score wins in a season. It's unbelievable what they're doing and how they're winning in crunch time. And I believe that's something that hardens a team, but not this team.
Yeah.
Because they are so just Jekyll and Hyde. They're so bad for long stretches of games. And then they just somehow weasel their way into hey, this is a close game. Maybe we'll go win it.
I just, whenever I look at the Giants' schedule, I don't see a lot of teams that are elite caliber.
Nah, they've had a soft schedule.
I mean, just I'm gonna run through some notables here. Giants, they beat the Titans by game 1. In week 3, they lost to the Cowboys. So next notable is the Ravens. They beat the Ravens 20-24. Next one is they lose to the Seahawks. They lose to the Lions. They lose to the Cowboys. They tie with the Commanders. They lose to the Eagles.
They got smashed by the Eagles, too.
They got their fucking shit pushed in by the Eagles. And then they get the ultimate stimulus package last week, and they beat the Commanders. I'm fucking out on I'm out on the Giants. I held it back when we were talking about the week review.
Yeah.
I am fucking out on the Giants, dude.
I agree.
It's over.
I agree.
It's over. So I've had a lot of time to think about it.
I think they're going to get in. That's the weird thing is I think they're going to get in, but then I think they're just going to get fucking trounced. You're probably by this team they're fucking playing this weekend. They're going to have to go to Minnesota for a playoff game.
You're probably right. What do you do?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, look, I thought really hard about trying to put the Giants as my pick because I'm petty. I'll be honest. It's 100% because I'm petty. I try to think of a viable argument, but I'm out, dude. And it's not even because of the Vikings. It's because I don't believe that there's really magic happening. It's been a soft schedule, and they've lost to the fucking good teams, period.
Yeah.
They haven't beat a good team since week 1.
Yeah.
So,
and even that team that they beat in week 1 looks like shit right now.
100%. That was the best team they beat. That's the best team they beat.
Yeah.
So Cincinnati unanimous here against the Patriots. So at Gillette, it's going to be cold. Joe Burrow doesn't have an indoor training facility, also trains in the cold. He's immune, and he's fucking the most dangerous quarterback in football. Joe Burrow is going to fucking put some burr out in Gillette, and he's going to whip ass. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that defense is pretty good for New England, but I don't see New England scoring a bunch of points against Cincy. So this one, I'd probably low 20s to like 13, 20, 23, 13 maybe. Cincy, I think they handle them pretty good though.
I was going to say, I still feel like Cincy goes nuts and puts up, I feel like it's 31.
Really?
I think it's 31-17, 31-23. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 31-24 maybe. No, it's not even going to be 24. 24 is no. I think it's 31-17. I think is where I'm at. Anyways,
nice.
I don't have faith in that Patriots defense against the amount of problems that the Cincy offense brings. There's too many, dude. Joe Mixon can catch and he can run really fucking fast, dude.
Yeah. He looked good this past weekend too. Looks healthy. Looks like he's got his feet under him.
Perfect timing as we're approaching the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Texans, after a heartbreak loss, go on the road against the Titans, who are looking like dog shit. And this was another one. Waffled on it. Thought about wanting to give it to Houston because they have the edge.
Yeah, I almost went gut pick here and took Houston. It just feels like Tennessee's in a bad spot right now.
Yeah.
Houston's a tough out.
It'll be a nail biter.
I think if Dameon Pierce was healthy, I might have been able. Maybe I could have swayed myself to make the Houston pick, but Houston is fully rebuilding. I don't know. I don't see them knocking off the Titans, even as bad as the Titans have looked.
Right. All right. Onward. And we're back to this bullshit. So Gary's not going to ride with his home team. I'll do it for him. I think it's a chip on the shoulder.
Maybe. Gee, that's so good, Aaron. That's so good. Jacob's lateral. Well done, buddy. Well done.
The Jacobs ladder.
Well done, bud. Give yourself a pat on the back for me. That was so good.
Fucking Jacoby's lateral. Love it. Yakubs. Listen, I don't know, man.
I will say this, right? I'm normally the pessimist, and I'm going to stay the pessimist for a long time here until they prove me wrong. But I almost picked Washington. Because just like I said last week on the show that the Giants game last week felt like a game that Washington loses.
Mm-hmm.
This game feels like a game that, like, just when all us Washington fans are ready to just jump off the cliff, they'll go and totally redeem themselves, as Harry Dunn would say, and knock off San Fran.
I'll be your Lloyd Christmas.
Right. Just let it go, Lloyd. Just let it go. But this is a game, honestly, and I waffled. I did. I almost picked Washington, but then I just said, like San Fran they're just better.
Yeah.
They're just better. But I do think, and I look back at, they had CJ Beathard 2 years ago, Chase Young's rookie year. They had CJ Beathard playing at quarterback, and he'd had a couple of good games in a row. And then Washington's defense, for whatever reason, was able to just fucking destroy him. Cam Curl had a pick 6 in that game. Chase Young had a fumble return for a touchdown in that game. I think there's a possibility that Washington's defense could give Brock Purdy fits. And if somehow, some way, Washington's offense is able to put some points on the board, this might be a low-scoring game that Washington can steal 16-14, something along those lines. He needs them gold red bottoms. Absolutely. I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. Let's get all the Jordans.
Guaranteed. Drip this man up.
This does feel like a game that Washington goes and wins, though.
Yeah. Well, you picked wrong.
Loss.
And we'll talk about it next week.
I do hope that I picked wrong.
I hope I'm on Victory Island because I'm looking forward to it. That's one of my Hail Marys of the week. I am so fucking shocked that we are unanimous here.
I think it's the news that Jalen Hurts is probably not going to play.
That's what
it was for me.
It's got to be.
I think that was the same thing for Andy, to be honest. I'm just speculating, but I think it has to be. That's what it was for me. Jalen Hurts is unlikely to play. Dallas beats Philly if they don't have to worry about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts made DeMarcus Lawrence look really bad a couple of times in that game.
Yeah,
if they don't have to worry about a moving target like Jalen Hurts, I do think, despite the fact that I like Gardner Minshew, I love me some Gardner Minshew.
That's where I'm at, Aaron.
But
that's where I'm at. Oh, my bad. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing it, dude. I feel like this is going to be a bounce back where firing on all cylinders. The Cowboys are going to show up and show out. There's no way there's just no way. I like
that attitude. I don't want to hear it, right? I'm with you, and I'm not a guy that, if Washington was missing their starting quarterback, I wouldn't be the one here making excuses. So I love that attitude.
Yeah. I think that regardless of Jalen Hurts, I am confident Jalen Hurts gets to start, Dallas is still putting up a W.
I like that. I like that conviction.
I said it 2 weeks ago whenever I was on the show. I said that I think we're going to start seeing Philly dwindle down. And we saw it against Chicago.
It started.
Yep. There's some shit going on.
They didn't look great.
We don't know yet. Dallas isn't putting up a good argument for me right now, but I'm fucking confident.
I like it. I like the conviction.
The bounce back is going to be solid. Now, if the Eagles lost to Chicago last week, I wouldn't be as confident because I think that Jalen Hurts is capable of bouncing back. Now you take Jalen Hurts away, it's a guaranteed W here for Dallas. So
nice.
I'm staying on the Vegas train against Pitt, and Gary's joining me.
I'm with you.
Gary's joining me. Andy's picking Pitt. Don't even blame him because of
this was a coin flip.
Josh McDaniels' future in Vegas should be a coin flip.
Yeah. I agree. Rumor has it they can't pay a second coach though. Imagine an NFL fucking team not having the money to pay a coach. It's weird. It's weird.
Bad money management.
Clearly something.
Yeah.
Man.
I don't even think it's bad contract management. I don't think that
I don't think
McDaniel's
it's
got some
contract.
insane amount of money that they can't pay.
I just think it's money management, man. Because the salary cap is what it is.
Right.
And NFL teams get enough TV money to really pay for the salary cap. It's everything else.
Them ones that are apparently obstructed from view.
Nice.
They are. Yeah.
I just think Vegas has enough offense in this. Derek Carr doesn't get flustered by pressure. So as good as Pittsburgh's defense has been, I think he's still going to stare down the barrel, and he and Devontae are going to do enough. They should have,
those fucking sidelines are not quite beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah. I mean, they have like Lego cutouts on the sidelines, apparently.
Yeah. It's pixelated, apparently.
Yeah. Heavily pixelated. Yeah, I don't know. It's not the game's in Pittsburgh this week, so they don't have that advantage.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Andy could totally be right, and honestly, it's a coin flip, like we said. Yeah. Gary riding with Green Bay here as Green Bay goes on the road to Miami. Yeah. Gary, what's your sentiment here?
Miami's on a down, and Green Bay, I think, is starting to work on kind of an uphill swing. Yeah. I think Rodgers is getting comfortable with the young guys. We see him looking at Dobbs and Watson a lot more than he looks at Lazard. He's got Cobb as kind of his safety blanket still, but he looks like he's starting to get comfortable. And Miami looks like they're having some trouble figuring some things out. I know they've, obviously playing Buffalo last week, tough opponent, but they haven't looked good for a few weeks now. They're on a 3-game losing streak, and I think we get one more here. I think Green Bay is able to run the ball. Aaron Rodgers isn't able to make enough plays, and this could be a shootout though. I think this could be a fun game to watch. This could be in the 30s, both teams.
Yeah, I mean, look, and we're talking about also saying that the Seahawks are going to lose. Mm-hmm. And there's a 1-game difference there for the wild card spot. So, I mean, somehow, even though we've been shitting on Aaron Rodgers all season. We
got to look at facts about that later.
Even though we're shitting on Aaron Rodgers all season, here he fucking is. Aaron Rodgers has quietly entered the fucking chat.
Even his fucking ayahuasca fucking guru have entered the chat.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
Licky toads,
Aaron likes Miami in this one. Aaron likes Miami bouncing back. Yeah, I mean.
My man.
I think it's going to be a shootout. I do. I don't think Green Bay's defense is playing up to snuff.
They won't go quietly.
I think it's going to be a shootout, but I think Green Bay's going to have enough for them.
We shall see. This was honestly my coin flip. I feel like Miami for me was not a coin flip. I feel like I was confident in Miami.
I'm confident in Green Bay.
Great.
This one wasn't a coin flip for me either. You know why?
You're not confident in Denver.
Guess who's back?
All right.
Mister, I can't throw more touchdowns than I have bathrooms in my mansion. And I told you, I'm out. I'm out when Russ plays.
I appreciate that conviction.
Rams.
I appreciate that conviction. We'll see.
If you're a gambling man this weekend, hey, listen, find the prop, Jalen Ramsey, anytime touchdown scorer. Find the prop. Put it in.
Bet the
mortgage.
Down. Bet the farm.
Russ is playing. I'm out.
Yeah. No, and that's fair.
If they announce on Friday that Brett Rippon is starting because Russ couldn't clear concussion protocol, because I think he's still technically in the protocol.
You'll change your mind.
I'm going to get this one wrong.
Okay. All right. Admittedly get it wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You know what, Senior? I disagree. Not poor Russ. Not poor Russ. That man's making way too much money for this poor Russ conversation.
Yeah,
He
look,
has no
I
sympathy
get
for
that
me.
we're bagging on him a lot, man, and we really are, and everybody in the media is bagging on him a lot. But I will say
Deservedly
this:
so.
he brings it on himself with
Yeah.
this cheese ball routine that he's got. This I'm a franchise quarterback, and here's 9 reasons why. Ugh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'd rather watch last week's Texan game against a lot of games, honestly. That was a fantastic week.
For
But
sure it was.
with that being said, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Okay, I appreciate the conviction in standing
all
against
about
Russ. That's Senior taking some sympathy with Russ. Tom Brady gets a great little bounce back opportunity here.
Yeah.
And so we're all universal here. Tom Brady's going to go to Arizona, lay it down, lay the smack down in Arizona. Yeah, and again, this isn't even necessarily a testament to Tom Brady being good. I just think it's going to be easy for him. It should be.
Arizona's pretty bad.
They're pretty bad.
J.J. Watt got 3 sacks last week, and the Broncos still moved the ball downfield.
Yeah.
And J.J. got piss tested after the game, so careful how good you play.
You know,
it's all random though.
How long had it been since his last sack, though?
That it's been a good bit.
Right. So like, don't shit on the man for a bounce back.
Right.
For a bounce back performance against a shit team. Like that's
right.
I feel like that was just okay, we have to test so many players. This is a compliance. It's a check in the box, right? JJ Watt's a fucking square. Let's be honest. Okay? He's not about that life. Okay? He's the all-American corn-fed motherfucker from Wisconsin. He is not doing the juice. It's not happening.
100%.
So, anyways, yeah, no, he's absolutely not. Anyways, Chargers unanimous here against fucking Matt Ryan. Dude.
Colts are fucking useless.
The Colts are tits on a boar hog.
They really are.
As we say here in the South. They are tits on a boar hog. It just does not
serve a purpose.
Matt Ryan would get lost in a fucking paper sack, dude. In the second half of a football game.
He'd fumble in the paper sack.
Oh, dude. He'd fumble and turn over. There's no one else in the bag. Just him.
The defense would score a touchdown, and the defense ain't in the bag.
Defense is on the outside of the bag. Somehow still turn it over.
Absolutely.
So, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out on Matt Ryan. And that's not some like hot take, right?
No, it's not.
Anyways,
it's true.
Gary, I really appreciate you putting the Bills at number 1 here. It was one that I struggled with. I also really appreciate the support for Joe Burrow too, sitting at number 3.
They're done with Matt Ryan after this.
Yeah, they're done. Yeah, this should be a 1-year deal.
Yeah. They've gotten out after the year. Yep.
So Chiefs sitting at 3 for me and Andy. Going into the power rankings for those of you guys that are listening rather than watching. So me and Andy have Eagles at 1. Gary has the Bills at 1. So flip-flopped here is me and Andy have him at 2. Gary has the Eagles at 2. So things start to get a little convoluted here as we get to 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
But Gary's got Cincinnati at 3, and I fucking love that. I really do. It's again conviction behind the idea from a couple weeks ago that Cincinnati is the most dangerous team in football. I struggled against it. I struggled against the idea of putting that team above Irish Patty Mahomes and that Andy Reid offense, but
they've already beaten them. And the Chiefs struggled against the Texans last week. And
exactly.
I think that there are things that teams can do against Kansas City to frustrate them. And we saw the Texans do it defensively. Yeah. We've seen a couple of teams, including the Bengals, do it against them defensively. And that really is what it boiled down to for me, bumping the Bengals up here to number 3 behind the Eagles.
Things get into real disarray at 5. So Andy's got Bengals at 5. And you and I have introduced 2 new teams here.
You're
so I've
still
introduced
pretty high on the Cowboys, huh?
I mean, The Jags got the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's going to be a repeat offense.
Okay.
So
Well, I
with
think
that,
that's what makes the beauty of power rankings,
right?
right? This
I've
isn't just a
also
rack and stack based on record, because the Chiefs have a better record than the Bengals. The Vikings have a better record than the Cowboys.
Aaron, shut your mouth, dude.
The
Aaron, shut your fucking mouth, dude. No,
Vikings technically have a better record than the Chiefs and
I'm
the
not.
Bengals.
I'm not in on the
Well,
San Fran
not the
train.
Chiefs.
I haven't been all season. I won't be.
Okay,
This is hype.
that's fair.
It's
Wrong,
fucking
but it's
hype.
fair.
That's fine. That's fine. No, Aaron, I won't hear. I won't express. I won't have sympathy for you. You stood your ground. That's fine. That's fine. All right. So we all stand good here. I think Andy's Bengals at 5 is disrespectful.
I think
To
that's
say
too low for sure.
to say
I
that
don't.
San Fran is better than the
San Fran
Bengals
above the
is
Bengals,
offensive.
definitely. But dude, that San Fran defense is next level. Honestly,
It is.
and they can run the ball with McCaffrey. He's very dangerous. I think in my
It was
head,
the
I'm still
perfect move
waiting
for
for him to get
McCaffrey.
hurt too, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm waiting for the soft tissue injury with him.
We've got a couple weeks left.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So all of us here unanimous in that the Vikings are the number 6 team in the power rankings. And I think it's fair. I may have gotten a little more disrespectful by saying that the Niners
they really
are
for sure.
it was a little disrespectful. They definitely, in my
Niners
opinion,
at 7 is pretty disrespectful.
I had the Niners. I had the Niners at 6, and then just on fucking principle, dude, I fucking dropped them down. I don't know why I hate this Niners team so much. I feel like it's a fluke.
I almost dropped the Cowboys more. To be honest,
Yeah,
that loss was pretty bad, and they didn't look good against the Texans the week before. But I still look at that defense and I say, maybe I trust them a little more than I trust the Chargers and the Ravens right now.
Senior, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. I would urge Andy to reconsider here. Yeah, and we'll get to that here in a second, Aaron. So getting in, I've got kind of a my wild card here. Dude, I've got my wild card here with the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're still capable of being dangerous. I don't have a lot of confidence in the consistency that we've seen from the Chargers and the Baltimore Ravens, which is why I have them at 8. That's where I'm at.
That's fair.
But with that being said, see your point. Lamar coming back is going to be a great. Yeah. Lamar coming back is going to be huge.
They're kind of the quietest 9-5 team right now too. Like they've got a pretty good record.
You wouldn't, yeah, exactly. You definitely wouldn't think that they were 9-5 the way that we're talking about them, but here they are. And again, definitely a little disrespectful of me to attack the Dolphins the way I have, but hey, or to support the way I have and leave the Baltimore Ravens completely out. But again, it's just I don't have faith in that team.
Yeah.
So you guys have the Chargers at 8. I have them at 9, and then you guys have Baltimore at 9. Yeah. So I think that this is where it starts to get real blurry, but I'm glad that we're sitting here unified on number 10.
Yeah,
entering the fucking chat. As Aaron Altow said,
fucking DC.
MCDC has entered the chat as Detroit has captured the top 10 spot here for all 3 of our power rankings.
Absolutely.
And I think after next week, we're going to see him at 8.
Look, if they knock off Carolina, they're going to move up. Absolutely.
100%. So MCDC is going to be a problem. Yeah, I think the Detroit Lions are quietly making their entrance into the playoff picture, into being a viable, formidable opponent.
Aaron, I considered the Jaguars from 8 to 10. I stacked them up against those 3 teams, and the way I looked at it right now, I picked the Jaguars in our weekly picks. We literally get to find out whether Jacksonville or LA belongs in the top 10, right? This week. And then I looked at the Ravens and I thought, Lamar is coming back. With Lamar, I probably pick the Ravens in a neutral site matchup. And as hot as Detroit is right now, I thought it would have been a little disrespectful to knock them out of the top 10. Having won 6 out of 7, they're on the heels of a playoff spot. I don't know, right? Do I pick the Jaguars to beat the Lions in a neutral site game? I think it's a bit of a coin flip. So I kind of went Detroit here to show some love for the fact that they're 6 out of 7 and have gotten back to 500 after starting the season out 1-6. Plus, they were my dark horse playoff team to start the year, so I've got to start getting behind them here.
And now's the time. I mean, and they're giving you every reason to do so.
Absolutely.
So love seeing.
But yeah, I think Jags at 11, probably in a hand, right? In a if I had like helmets in a hand, it'd be them and like the Titans, maybe the Giants, maybe the Seahawks, right? From 11 to like 15. Maybe even Washington, I would still kind of lump in that mix as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me the biggest blur was 8 and 9, and then like 11 through 14 for me, really 11 through 13 gets really fucking rough. Like I feel like I could justify 5 or 6 teams.
Yeah.
5
I
teams.
agree with you.
So, all right, what else we got on the docket? Cat facts?
Jump into cat facts, bud.
Let's do it. First on the docket, Cat facts. The Packers have an actual shot to make the playoffs. I teased it plenty.
Yes, you did.
As we're getting into the preview for the week. The Packers have an actual shot to make the playoffs. So I'm going to defer to you, Gary, because I'm going to call that you're going to say facts.
Yeah, you're right. I looked at schedules, and I didn't do this to look at the Packers. I did this to look at scenarios for Washington because they have an odd schedule. They've got San Fran, which is a tough game. Then they've got Cleveland, which could be a bit of a crapshoot because of that defense. And then they finish the season with Dallas, who could be resting starters because they're pretty much locked into the first wild card spot, unless there's an epic collapse by the Eagles. But then I got looking at like other teams that are close to them, and I looked at Seattle. Seattle's probably out because their schedule's really tough down the stretch. They got the Chiefs this week, and they finish with, I believe, San Fran, and then I can't remember who else, but they've got a tough schedule down the stretch. The Lions have kind of a mediocre schedule. I think this Carolina game is where it hinges for Detroit because it's in Carolina. Carolina's a little bit plucky right now with Steve Wilkes. If they drop that game, they finish the season with the Packers on their schedule, and the Packers knocking them off could change the tiebreaker for the season. If the Packers were to win out, even if the Lions finished with only 8 losses. And then I looked at like Washington, Detroit, and Seattle, and then I look at Green Bay's schedule. Green Bay's schedule is fairly favorable for them down the stretch, especially considering I do think that they're starting to figure it out. So for me, I say this is facts. I'm not saying that they are going to make the playoffs, but I do think that week 18, that game is going to matter for the Packers, which is something I would not have expected to say a month ago.
I think that they have an actual shot. So if we're going to look at this from a literal question, yes, they have a shot. It's a possibility. Now, to say, is it likely? I'm going to say no, and that's because the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have a great schedule for the rest of the year.
They do.
The Giants do not. The fucking Packers do not. They have the Vikings, They have the Dolphins this weekend. They have the Vikings. And then they close with the Lions.
Yeah.
TBD. And I think that I give the edge to the Lions with the momentum that we're seeing. Now, this week will tell. I think the Seahawks can struggle here. The Giants have a good opportunity aside from their final game with the Eagles. However, I think the Lions are going to be the one that are going to stop them from getting into the playoffs.
I think it's going to come down to that game. That's why I say I think Week 18 is going to matter. That game is going to matter. Something I don't think I would have said a month ago. It's going to matter for the Packers. Right. I think right now you look at it and say, yeah, that's a big game for the Lions. But the Packers, I picked them to beat Miami. I think they're going to beat Minnesota next week because I think they're going to be pretty much locked into the 2 seed because the Eagles beat them. It's really going to depend on whether Dallas does beat Philly, yada, yada. It's going to kind of boil down to that. It's going to make the difference between how hard they play against the Packers and then finishing with Detroit. I do think that game is going to matter for the Packers.
Yeah. 100%. On to the next one. Jeff Saturday should be the first interim coach to be fired in the NFL. Dude, yes.
Yeah.
Facts. I want to hear somebody in the chat say cap.
Right.
Because
somebody stick up for Jeff Saturday after a 33-0 collapse.
As they say in the Northeast, you got a dump in your pants. if the answer to that question is cap.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I didn't even know what that meant until a couple years ago. Never heard it in my life.
Oh, shit.
Anyways. The Jags will win the AFC South. And that's, listen, Jags are on one. The AFC South is another kind of dumpster fire division where the Titans are struggling. The Colts are garbage. It's a 2-horse race in that division. 1 game difference. The Jags will win the AFC South. I'm going facts here because of the instability in Tennessee and also because of the momentum that we see with Jacksonville. And just, again, Sunshine's figuring it out. And I think that the Doug Peterson coaching is helping. I think what we're seeing with the team is helping. There's certain things that are just jumping around in the right direction. If you haven't bought in on Jacksonville 2 weeks ago, you've already lost money. You should have bought in low a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I'm going facts here.
Yeah, I'm facts on this one too. I've got the Jags, right? That's a good question. The Jags have let me go back.
Jets.
I added up. They've got the Jets, the Texans, and then they finish with the Titans. I picked the Jags to beat the Jets this week. So for me, going into Week 18, it's not going to matter what the Titans are able to do because the Titans have the fucking A. I just had it a moment ago. But they have the Cowboys, who I think are going to be playing hard in Week 17 to ensure that they are situated in that 5 spot.
Yep. They have the Texans this week,
which I count as a win. But to me, even if the Titans beat the Cowboys in Week 17, going into that final week, the Jaguars have the Titans left on their schedule, and
it's going to come down to Week 18.
It's going to come down to Week 18. They've already beaten them this year, right? They beat them back in Week 14. So if the Jags win out, it doesn't matter what the Titans do the rest of the way because they're only 1 game behind, and they've got the tiebreaker because they'll have beaten them twice. So for me, I look at their remaining schedule. I have them winning this week over the Jets, beating the Texans, and then beating the Titans in the final week means that the Jags will win the AFC South.
Hundo P. On to the next one. Cat facts: Bill Belichick has lost the Pats. It's a bold accusation. I mean, just for the sheer fact that it's Bill Belichick. But I'm going to say Cap. I'm going to say Cap because Bill Belichick will not lose his organization. He will have just made a bad investment in a quarterback. So, is he capable of rebuilding this? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to. I look at Bill Belichick in the same light that I look at Tom Brady. Is it over? No, it's not. Is he capable of being better? Yes, absolutely. Does he need differences in the tooling that he's equipped with? Then yes, 100%. So, I will say it's Cap.
I'm going the other way on this, and I'm going to disagree about the quarterback thing. I don't think it's quarterback. I think it's Matt Patricia on offense. I don't know why you have him as the offensive coordinator.
Let him go, bud.
I think that's the biggest thing. They don't. He made some bad moves in free agency, getting Aguilar, going out and trading for Devontae Parker, signing Hunter Henry. They don't have weapons, and they don't have an offensive coordinator that can do anything. Mac Jones is literally yelling at the guy like you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and he's on the field yelling at his offensive coordinator like you don't know what you're doing, and that's bad. The other thing that I'll present as evidence is that last play of the game where the players literally say we made a call and ad-libbed. Could you fucking imagine that happening 3, 4, 5 years ago when they were entrenched in their dynastic run? The team ad-libbing a fucking pitchy woo-woo at the end of a game, and Belichick letting that fucking set. Like, he would have sacrificed 8 people on the field on national fucking television.
National television, yeah.
3, 4 years ago. So for me, I look at what's going on there right now, and I think so, man. I think he's lost this fucking team. On top of the fact they don't have a lot of talent, he's made a lot of bad decisions. I think he's lost the team.
I think he needs to lose the coach. I agree with that. But to say that he's lost the team, again, like I just don't. I don't know. Is he going to lose?
Hard to imagine with Belichick, right?
Is he going to lose Matt Patricia in the middle of the season, or not in the middle, but mid-season?
He fucking should have axed him after week 2.
Sure, should he? But would he?
Probably not. Matt Patricia's his guy.
He's old school. Yeah, and he's got that rapport, Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
Anyways, onward and upward. Let's. Submit your questions for the bag, because we stay in our bag. And first question we're going to pull out of this bag, looking forward to it. Gary Free Sr. asks, is there a team in the NFC that can challenge the top teams in the AFC in the Super Bowl? So my first response is rather, when we're looking at the top 4 teams in the NFL and the NFC, Eagles, Cowboys, Niners, Vikings. If we're looking at those teams, can those teams challenge the top teams in the AFC in the Super Bowl? Gary?
No. The closest is San Fran. If Jimmy G comes back in the playoffs and he's healthy and hitting on the same cylinders he was, I think they can challenge, sort of. But it's AFC this year. Whoever wins the AFC Championship is going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Period. And I'll say that for all 3 of the top AFC teams. I don't think there's a team in the NFC that can beat the Bills. I don't think there's a team in the NFC that can beat the Bengals. And I don't think there's a team in the NFC that can beat the Chiefs.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Yeah, I have no objections to that. I think the NFC as a whole is a sham. Especially, it pales in comparison to what we see in the AFC.
Yeah, for sure.
So, On to the next one. Senior asks another one. With the absolute debacle by the officials in the New York Giants-Washington Commanders game, what can the NFL do about it? Is it more replay? I mean, I think we kind of hinted about it earlier in the show, but I feel like we have to look at what's actually could happen rather than what actually should happen. So what actually should happen would be that these refs are held accountable, similar to how they are in the NBA, where there's an after-action review and there is just reporting and accountability taken on the back end. But what can they do about it in game time? If they don't have enough cameras to capture the angle where a man's out of bounds by 2-3 inches, I mean, the pad of his fucking foot is on the white turf, then yeah, you need more cameras for whatever reason. Why it didn't go off to the at least 2-3 cameramen that should have had an angle of that this is a pass in the end zone. This is a man who is running the seam of that end zone. I need to be looking right at the fucking ground. It makes no sense to me. You know, we'll put our tinfoil hats on there any day of the week, and it's justified based off of that call right there.
Ooh, that's a good question. We're gonna save that.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
To see the arm wrapping that we've saw in this game in particular, I mean, the holding, the PIs, the missed calls, the blatantly horrible calls. There's got to be. If you're not going to have accountability, then I don't necessarily think that there is anything that they can do. There's always things they can do, sure, but is there anything they're going to do? It's different.
And that's my big thing, right? Is it more replay? Maybe. But we run the risk of possibly having games go a long time. And when do you review? When is pass interference reviewable? It's one of those things that's a judgment call to. If we're going to introduce a review for all penalties, there's holding on every single play.
And you have to ask the same question, though, and that is, if we already give them this much control of the game, why do we want to give them more, right?
Well, there's that too, right?
The replay system's fucked to begin with.
It's so flawed. And you look
but it's not the replays themselves. It is the discretion exercised by the referees that are leading to wrong decisions. You have a guy in the booth. You have a million cameras.
Yep.
There's no excuse.
100%.
It should not be discretionary. It should be science.
Yep. And I think, you're getting to a point where you're probably going to start introducing technology that it's going to take time to develop, time to test, time to do different things on. Things like sensors in the ball, chips in the ball. Is it everybody has to wear black shoes because the sidelines are white? Because that's always the thing that refs default to, right? When you go to a replay, there was like, well, he's wearing white shoes.
Yeah, it's the contrast. It's an issue.
Listen, I can tell you right now that, like, sitting on my fucking couch with my 4K smart TV, I can see that he's fucking out of bounds. You're a $10 billion corporation. $10 billion. I don't make fucking one fucking 0.1% of that, dude. You're a $10 billion corporation.
Yeah.
You can make it happen. And that's my point that I'm getting to, is like, the NFL doesn't want to. The NFL wants clicks. The NFL wants headlines. The NFL wants controversy. The NFL wants discussion on the first segment of ESPN to be, Commanders get screwed out of a win in the playoff chase, or Raiders win on crazy lateral play after controversial touchdown. That's what the NFL wants. That's what they've always wanted. They live and die by the mantra of no press is bad press. And they don't want officiating to get to a point where it's flawless, because it doesn't get clicks, it doesn't get headlines, and it doesn't get people talking.
Well, the NFL had the opportunity to recognize themselves as like a sport competition thing, and they went the entertainment route, right? That was something that was more recently resurfacing, right? Is just reminding everybody that the NFL is the entertainment business.
Yep.
And so,
100%.
The comparisons to the WWE after this weekend are 100% justified. There's nothing There's nothing that you can say to convince me at all that this is not just negligence on the officiating.
They've got a hand in it.
My tinfoil
that's what's becoming more and more obvious. Is
my tinfoil hat is firmly seated, and it's not uncommon, and it's no longer a conspiracy at this point. It's
what's
too
crazy
blatant
to think about too, and I'd have to look at like, is it because we're more connected? Is it because we care more? Is it because more people care more? But there has been some speculation that since gambling became more and more legalized, that this stuff has gotten crazier with the NFL and more frequent. I haven't done my research to validate that, but I know that idea is being floated out there. There's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of money in sports gambling.
Oh, yeah, dude. Absolutely.
We got one more here in the chat.
It was a good one.
From Aaron. It was a good one.
So thoughts on Witten's remarks about if only Parsons had played 10 years early, would the Cowboys have made a Super Bowl appearance? Yeah. No. No, he says.
They had a better version of him. They had a better version of him, honestly. DeMarcus Ware was the most unblockable player in the league at the time he played for the Cowboys and the time he played for the Broncos. They had a better version of Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
If he had played with DeMarcus Ware, yes.
I think that's
yes.
I think okay, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think that's the question.
If that's the question, I do think that defense would have been pretty unstoppable, and they probably would have. I will agree on that. If you paired,
not a victory.
If you paired Micah Parsons with Sean Lee with DeMarcus Ware.
Yep, there it is.
Okay. Okay, fine. Yep. If that's the yep. Okay. I went beyond the question. If you're pairing him with DeMarcus Ware, then yes.
They're the most lethal defense in football.
They're the number one defense for 5 or 6 years out of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, arguably of the decade 10 years ago.
Sure. That's the NASCAR package Giants, and you see what they did.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah, absolutely. And you look at what they had in terms of guys you could add to them, like Marcus Spears was pretty good on the interior. He wasn't a showstopper, pretty good on the interior. Sean Lee, obviously. They had a couple of safeties that were in that time. Yeah, of course. Yeah, right. The health was always the concern with Sean Lee for sure. But yeah, right. If you're telling me you're going to pair him with DeMarcus Ware, then yeah, I will say that I would have expected that team to at least make it to, if not win, a Super Bowl, maybe 2. I think Tony Romo gets a real bad rap as a player. I bag on him as a commentator.
I love hearing you say that.
Terrible. But I think Tony Romo gets a bad rap as a player, honestly. He played on some teams that they were pretty devoid of X, Y, or Z at various times throughout his career.
Yeah. Agreed.
They had some really bad offensive lines. They had some really bad running games. And they had
I'm guilty of giving Tony Romo the bad rap, too. I mean, I was on that train.
He is still, I think he's still, or Mahomes might have passed him, but still the highest rated fourth quarter quarterback in the history of the NFL.
I mean, some of the best two-minute drills you've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, outside of Rodgers or Brady.
He was unflappable.
Yeah.
Down the stretch of games. It was consequence. It was roster composition. It was different things at various times throughout his career. And then he got fragile. He got beat up a lot and got fragile.
Yeah.
He was an aggressive guy. He was one of those guys that he was not afraid to stare the pass rush down and complete a pass. He got beat up for it. And then he got fragile down the stretch.
Yeah, he did.
I think, honestly, I'm going to say this, and I've said this to my brother, and he has said it back to me. We've had this conversation. Dak's rookie year, if they had Romo at quarterback, that team wins the Super Bowl.
Damn.
That team wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I dig that.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Jesus Christ. All right. Yeah, there's
a lot to come. Can we answer that next week?
I mean, I need some time to think
about
that.
Can I put a starting 22 together for next week?
Yeah, I need time for 22, but I mean, I can name some fucking names.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can tell you Emmett's there. I mean, the quarterbacks.
Honestly, wait. Okay. I have a question for you.
Okay.
As a Cowboys fan, and I know you didn't really see him play. You might have caught the end of his career when he was already off Dallas. But is Emmitt Smith on the all-time Dallas team over Tony Dorsett? Really? Because I think if you put Tony Dorsett behind the offensive lines of the 90s in Dorsett's prime, let's be clear about that, right? Same time frame of their career, Emmitt versus Tony Dorsett. I think Dorsett's smashing records, dude. I think Dorsett beats Dickerson's record. I think Dorsett is an all-timer behind that offensive line because he was already awesome behind some really shitty 1980s Dallas Cowboys teams. They were bad in the 80s, and he was fucking awesome.
So giving Dorsett the benefit of the doubt as being victim of circumstance, then yes. Sure.
I know I'm asking you kind of stretch that because Emmitt,
I mean, it's a hypothetical.
Emmitt's the all-time leading rusher, yada yada. I get all that, but to put them on the same team on the same line, I think Tony Dorsett smashes a lot of records.
Yeah,
I think he breaks Dickerson's record for sure. That dude had elite speed. There was only one dude playing in the league at the time Tony Dorsett was playing in the league that had his level of speed, and that was a defensive back for Washington.
I think that if you give
running back at like 225.
I think that if you also and I use the term prime loosely with Tony Romo, but if you use prime Tony Romo with some of the offensive lines that Dak has had, he is going down as an all-time great.
That's why I say Dak's rookie year, if they've got Romo at quarterback, health not being a factor, I think they win the Super Bowl.
And there's been more situations like that where we've had the number one offense. We've had the number one running back. We've had the, I mean, it's been too many times, man. So
what's interesting about an all-time Dallas team too is like you guys had some guys quote unquote pass through, right?
Yeah.
Dion, right? Primetime pass through.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Haley is a guy who won for multiple teams. There were a couple other guys that kind of passed through that were really good for the Cowboys on some really good teams too. But that's a good one. Let's T.O., right? Another pass through guy, Hall of Famer. You know, there's some names. I'm really curious. Let's take that as a homework assignment because Dallas is a team that's rich in history. They got a lot of guys you can choose from because you got the obviously dominant 70s era. You got the obviously dominant 90s era, and you've got some modern guys that really made a difference on some teams that didn't win Super Bowls. But, you know, Dez is a guy who did a lot of things for Dallas. Marcus Ware's another guy.
Dan Bailey's my kicker. I'll put that down.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's my kicker. There you go.
Fair. He was pretty clutch, especially from 50+.
Fuck, man.
That dude hammered some big-time 50+ kicks.
Yeah, second to maybe Tucker. So
yeah.
All time. Anyways. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right. I think that's all we had for our bag. We got our extra little question in from Aaron. It's going to take some follow-up on that for sure.
Absolutely.
Any closing remarks on the week before we dive into this this crazy week of football we got coming up?
This is the time of year I love with the NFL, right? We talk about the game for 15, 16 weeks, and then it always comes down to these last few weeks. And you got teams in here we wouldn't have expected. You got the guys that we would have expected, and there's a lot of jostling going on over the next few weeks. The playoff chase is fucking so fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing some good football. We're seeing some bad officiating. But we're seeing some good football. And so, anyways, for all of us here at Backyard Sports, another episode of Backyard Blitz brought to you by Backyard Sports. Aaron, Senior, always a pleasure seeing you guys.
Always.
Jake Phillips, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, buddy.
Haven't seen your name before. Always good seeing you. Hopefully we see you next week.
Absolutely.
Man, I cannot wait to just debrief the absolute chaos that's going to happen this weekend. It's going to be good. Be sure to tune in. Be sure to tune into the Tailgate Trash Talk. Are we running Ross and Baggers?
We're in an off-season schedule, so the next episode will be after New Year.
Okay, after New Year, be sure to check in on the Rosenbaggers. Tailgate Trash Talk is going to get spicy. We've got some declarations for the NFL Draft. I talked about Bijan already. We've got all kinds of fun shit in the works here. We've got some more bowl games coming your way. Plenty of things coming up. Plenty of off-season discussions, coaching acquisitions, plenty to talk about on the Tailgate Trash Talk. Be sure to tune in. My name is Raul Herrera. I got Gary Freeze with me. Thank you guys for tuning in to Backyard Blitz. We'll see you guys next week. We're out of here.